ever since.
I have one question for you. What do you think makes online content creators special? Like, what's the one thing that you think truly separates them from other forms of content? It cannot be the visuals since those can be achieved in other forms of media. I don't think it's even the topics. Sure, some can be rather obscure and only obtainable through independent creators, but I think the major element is the organic creativity. But what do I mean by this? I have been mentioning it throughout some of the videos of this special, but what exactly is organic content creation in my weird dictionary? Well, in an article set on socialmediatoday.com, they discuss in the early days of social media, businesses only posted content organically. Instead of having to pay for ads, brand content will naturally be shown on people's feeds. And because of this, there was a heavy emphasis on creating good quality content that customers actually liked and will be interested in. Now, I'm not saying that the media itself is nothing but a facade, although there are plenty of examples of that. But what I mean here is actually on the fact that the execution doesn't have a predetermined focus group execution. A lot of the most successful or at least recognized content creators online manage to make content by just letting things happen. Unlike most of the channels on this list so far, I have actually been around the growth of this channel since its earliest days. That's right, ever since the first Dragon Ball Super video, I've been seeing this man's development as a content creator, the ups and downs and all arounds. So today for JuneTube, I will show you my impressions, thoughts on, and review for the joyful, thought-provoking, and inspirational channel, Totally Not Mark.
With the map that's laid out before us, possibilities are just endless. With every step we take, we're moving on, right towards a new dawn.
Totally Not Mark is a good example of organic content since a lot of the times he will just make videos on what he considered worth saying at the time. Throughout his earliest days of video creation, he will make content that concept-wise is pretty standard, all things considered. Top 10 of animated moments in Dragon Ball, both bad and good, discussions about the quality of different projects, character analysis, etc. And while I know he doesn't hold the most optimistic perspective on those videos, I don't think they portray that malicious intent. For starters, there was a guarantee of getting the two sides of the argument, as well as the fact that his execution was more lighthearted and for the purposes of playing around. In other words, he was not trying to be taken seriously doing his negative observations. As I have also mentioned on multiple parts, and it's even something that he has mentioned on some videos, is that how we say things matters just as much, if not more than what we say. And because of that, while I can tell that the current direction of his videos will never take this kind of writing approach, I don't think it's malicious or even actually offensive due to the nature of his own tone during the video. The way we say certain things can both benefit your message as well as affect it depending on the situation. I won't show any examples out of respect since this isn't a comparison video, but even having the most positive message can end up falling apart if you say it poorly. Even when he has something majorly negative to say, he makes clear that he's not a voice of reason and creates an environment within his channel that focuses more on improving through criticism rather than just toss criticism and call it a day. Now, that's not to say that he's been perfect throughout the 5 years of his career. His Pokemon video generates a bit of an example on that, not so much because of his intention of a game that wasn't even out by the time of the video, but because the execution of it was more biased and subjective than other works from him during that time. I mean, I agree with the fact that Pokemon has felt more corporate and shallow with each passing generation, but I don't think Gen 1 was as great as he portrays him on the video. I know he doesn't hold that video on high regard either, but it's an example to mention in order to appreciate how far the channel has come. With that said, I also think he has shown cases of being too hard on himself. Everyone's human and experiences are only bad when we don't learn from them. At least that's what I think. But when it comes to negative observations, that's honestly all there's to it. The rest of his videos are either him expressing his own opinions in a way that are just that, his thoughts without being some sort of voice of reason above everybody else, or just informative with little to no bias. His videos talking about the psychology behind characters contain quotes and sources that back the points he brings up during the videos, to the point where even if it's all scripted, the sources allow to show that he's informed on the topic, therefore he's someone with enough information to back out the message of his content. But now that I got completely sidetracked with this, I want to go back on the organic sense that he generates with his content. In the last year or so, he's been doing serialized videos regarding Dragon Ball Super, GT, One Piece, and recently JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Now, if any of you are fans of Mark and his content, I should ask, did you ask for any of those videos? Did they ever feel like something out of place in terms of editing, writing, and tone? I mentioned that because, well, there's definitely a growth and development in his work when you look at it in retrospective like I did. If you just sit down and watch his content as it goes out, the growth is subtle and consistent throughout his work. That's what I mean by organic, and I do also want to make an emphasis on the fact of growing. In an article made by Ali Luke, she mentions, while changes can come from the outside, growth always comes from within you. Other people might support, help, and encourage you, but ultimately, you have to want to grow. It takes energy and effort on a long-term basis, which means you need to keep up your motivation. I've been watching this man's content for almost half a decade by this point, and there hasn't been a point where I couldn't tell he cares about what he does 100%. If anything, that's something he's been focused on more than anything, to express the things that he wants to share to the world, which I think is what makes me enjoy the work of online media more than traditional. The internet allows for creativity to have a major priority, where the projects are made by people and not corporate measures, and where passion leaps to massive possibilities. You can just give someone the tools and with their own craft create something that can touch thousands of people by just existing. I truly believe that the best creative works will emerge in the soon future because of the freedom and access to education with just a few clicks. And to Mark, I can only say that his work has way more potential than what he gives himself credit for. In words of a wise person for future creators out there, work hard, practice,
draw, create, innovate, improve, change, write, inspire, repeat.
Does that sound familiar? I hope it does. Thank you so much for listening.